Greetings, YouTube world. This is Diet Dr. Griffin. And, well, I have another Netflix movie in my hand, and you know what that means. Guess what my neighbor rented from Netflix? What did my neighbor rent from Netflix? In this segment of the show, that sometimes I can't even get the name right of, I go through my neighbor's mail, and if there's a Netflix movie, well, we're gonna watch it. Well, I'm going to watch it and then tell you about it. So, let's see what my neighbor rented. Collision Course. Collision Course is a movie starring Mr. Miyagi, Pat Morita, and Jay Leno. Yes, there was actually a movie starring Jay Leno. No, really, it was a movie starring Jay Leno. The premise of this movie is that a supercharger engine is stolen from Japan by the villain from Karate Kid Part 2's father, and then Mr. Miyagi is sent by the Tokyo police to go and get it back before the villain from Karate Kid Part 2 tries to sell it to somebody on the black market. And then Jay Leno shows up because the villain from Karate Kid Part 2 is accidentally killed while being tortured by some villainous characters in Detroit. And, well, in this rush hour kind of movie, the two sides work together reluctantly. The two detectives work independently of each other at first until they are smashed together into an odd buddy cop movie that doesn't play itself off like a buddy cop movie. The clues that progress the story along actually are well written and somewhat clever. It's nice to watch movies where the plot isn't driven by a random computer thing, because they really didn't have computers back in the 80s. At least not to the level that they have them today. The main villain of this movie is played by Chris Sarandon, also known as Susan Sarandon's ex, who managed to keep his name even though they're no longer married. He plays a well-established villain in the Detroit crime scene, and he has a couple of strong thugs that bully the guy named Jared, who has his car, which he wants to put the supercharged engine into and recover the car industry in Detroit. Yeah, that part of the plot wasn't really established all that well. Believe it or not, this movie was never actually released in the theaters. It ended up coming out direct-to-video a few years after it was shot, which was then sometime in 1987. Apparently, they didn't finish shooting parts of this movie and ran out of money, and before certain scenes could be shot. Jay Leno also thinks it's a terrible piece of crap, and people on The Tonight Show have used this movie to make fun of him at various moments of time. Overall, I give this movie 2 supercharged engines out of 5. I actually think there were some good elements of this movie. Much of the clues and the detective work was somewhat solid. The biggest problem of the movie is Jay Leno. It's not that he's bad, he's just not memorable and not funny. I think the biggest problem with this movie is that it isn't really funny. Also, there's a lot of anti-Japanese uh, language in the movie that just made me cringe. Had this movie had a different actor in the lead and maybe been finished correctly, this movie might have been pretty good. Maybe not as good as another 80s themed car movie called Action Jackson, but it would have been watchable and probably would have made back its budget at the box office. I would recommend that you steal your neighbor's mail to watch this movie because the combination of Jay Leno and Mr. Miyagi is so off the wall that it is just worth watching for the gimmick between the two. But you don't have to steal your neighbor's mail if you have HBO streaming platform because apparently this movie is on there. Now I must get going because I have to get my beauty sleep. I have a day job, and I need to wake up early so that I can make that money, money, money. Ta ta.